body, but it is just such a very special thing to sit with these things on a Saturday morning, enjoying the sight of Shongile having her breakfast and Hosanna down below. Very well-mannered they are. I was just saying how well-mannered I think they are. Jeandre said, of course they are. They've been beautifully brought up. Well, they have, of course. Karula, completely polite, of course, unless she gets very irritated, in which case she is not very polite. She gets very cross. You can see a wonderful image there of her little spot pattern. Carlos, you're a new viewer. Thank you for your question. Well, great to have you on Safari. I hope you'll join us for an extended period. You say, why don't they attack us? Well, Carlos, because they've got something else to eat that tastes much better than we do. I'm obviously being very facetious. That's not why they don't attack us. They don't attack us because they don't see us as predators here, or they don't see us as prey. Now, normally a leopard or a lion will see a human being as a predator. That's when we're on foot. But when we're in a car like this, what you find is that they don't perceive us in the same way. Now, we're not entirely sure why that is. Some people will tell you it's because when we don't stand up, they just don't recognize us for human beings. Some people will say that they just see the whole vehicle as a sort of organism on its own. I'm not convinced that either of those are necessarily correct, but the point is, Carlos, they do not see us in the vehicles as a threat. And because they don't see us as a threat, they don't run away. But likewise, they don't see us as something good to eat, and so they don't attack us. Now, you can get too close to an animal like this, and then they might become afraid of you, and when they become afraid of you, then it is possible that they would try and attack. But it's very, very unusual. On foot, it's a very different situation, Carlos. So you've seen Taylor out on foot today. She's walking around the place. If she was to walk into this area, what would probably happen is that there are two leopards on the ground, obviously, and one in the tree. The one in the tree would almost certainly come out of the tree and melt off into the bush. The mother would probably growl at Taylor on foot, and the other one on the ground, the little son, he would disappear also into the bush. Now, Carlos, the reason they do that is because they see us as a threat. They would never attack her just straight off unless she cornered them. Because they see her as a predator, they would try and get away from her. If you ever get into a position where you happen to corner an animal, where it feels like it cannot move away, it cannot run away, then it might attack. But that would be very unlikely out here. There are, of course, many incidents of leopards and lions attacking human beings, but normally that's either at night, or especially in the case of leopards, the leopard is sick or injured and really doesn't see any other option other than to attack a human being, and again, normally at night. I know this is a little bit disgusting perhaps for some of you, but of course it's just so wonderful watching these leopards acting and learning and growing up. So that was a young duiker. Not a young duiker, in fact, probably an adult male. You can see he's got a fairly good set of horns there, which didn't do him much good in the face of an attack from Karula, the Great Queen. And it's a beautiful morning. It's quiet, a very gentle kind of dawn chorus. Michael, you're wondering about the size of Hosanna there, and he's just at the bottom of the tree, and you're wondering when he will be the same size as his mum. I think probably about a year old. As you suggest, I think a year old will probably see him about the same size as her. She is in there somewhere. And we're not going to try and move from here, everyone, because we just don't have any signal other than where we are right now. And for those of you who are new viewers, like Carlos, that means that, of course, we are broadcasting from a fairly difficult area. There's not a lot in the way of technology around here. And there's the Queen. And so there are a couple of technical difficulties that we have to deal with here. One of those is that we're very low down, and that means it's just a little bit difficult sometimes to get a good signal. So we're going to stay here with this picture of the two lovely leopards with their mum sitting off in the bush, and I suspect that eventually he will lose patience down where he is and head up to the tree and see if he can't convince his sister to give him something. Now, I want to suggest something about their names. For those of you who know their names, Shongile, of course, is a female name, which means beautiful, and Hosana is a male leopard, and his name means little chief. Now, I want to put it to you, everybody, that's it's a really, I don't know, how do I put this in a subtle way? I think it speaks volumes of our own human society, the way we've named them, which I think is quite interesting, that we've always named female leopards after beauty of some kind, or, well, in Karula's case it was peace, but often female animals described as beautiful or magnificent or pretty or flower. We've got one of a leopardess called Flower somewhere around here, Shiluva, and the males always described, or often described, in terms of strength and power. And he is described as Little Chief, of course, but he's no less beautiful than she is. I just think that's quite interesting. Now, Dr. Summit, you're wondering about, I've forgotten what you were wondering now. I'm going to get your question back again.
How do we tell the difference between them?
How do we tell the difference between the leopards? Thank you, Dr. Summit. You're a new viewer. Wonderful to have you with us. The way you tell, well, there are any number of ways of doing it, and various, oh dear, got big beeping in my ear. There are any number of ways of doing it, and some of our viewers do it in different ways from the way I do it, and that's absolutely fine. But every leopard has unique spots, and a leopard, as we know, Jean-Andre, from the legend, doesn't change its
rosettes.
Spots. Yes, well done. He's got bilharzia brain, he can't think straight. And the easiest way to do it is, well, for me, and it's not always for everybody, is to look at the spots just below the whisker line, above the whisker line, below the nose. And if you look, in fact, we can probably, obviously she's now turned her head, but if Shongile, on her left-hand side, she's got 4 spots, one of them very small in the front, and on her right-hand side, she's got 5, one very small in the front, and then 4 behind that. Then Hosana, I think, is 3-3 as far as I can remember, unless he's got an extra little one. I think I'm pretty sure he's 3-3. And his mother is 3-4. So she's got 3 on her right, our left, when she's looking at you, and then 4 on the other side. But you can look at the necklace around their necks. They've often got a very distinctive patterning where if you can imagine a necklace of jewels, and there's a necklace in the front on the chest of every leopard, and that's a unique spot pattern that's quite easy to look at. And then the most obvious thing about Karula, and this was pointed out by many of our long-term viewers, is the fact that she has something called a spot pattern wow written across her forehead. So she's got the front of her forehead has got a very distinct row of spots that spells out the word wow. So that's the way that we recognize her very easily. Right, Taylor is out on foot, like I say, so Carlos, go and find out from her why she's not being